And now, Good Mike Work Commentaries and Greg Morgan presents the Winged Eagle Podcast.
Happy Monday. What's going on, guys? And welcome back. We are here for a Monday night wingy. I got to tell you, it's probably going to be a pretty rare occurrence that we get a Winged Eagle podcast on Saturdays and 2 days later on Monday. But I really wanted to come up here last Saturday because there was a lot to catch up on. You know, we had a lot of just wrestling news, All In news, ticket sale news, WWE news, Lacey Evans news, Cash Wheeler news, all that stuff going on. And I was like, you know, I don't want to overload tonight's show. So we came up on Saturday and knocked a lot of that out. But I still wanted to come up here tonight because we weren't here last Monday for Raw to review the show either. So I wanted to come up here this evening and talk about Monday Night Raw, also look ahead to Payback, and maybe briefly talk about Saturday's Collision episode as well. CM Punk officially under the disguise of the Golden Vampire, accepting Samoa Joe's challenge for Wembley Stadium and All In. And I thought we'd talk a little bit about Collision and preview All In. Also, big news today coming out of WWE with WrestleMania 40 setting some more records. We kind of already knew about that. They surpassed 90,000 ticket sales in that first day between nights 1 and 2, and they have surpassed their highest gate ever, which was the record was previously held at this year's WrestleMania at SoFi Stadium. They have broken that $21.6 million record that they had already set this year already for WrestleMania 40. So both companies setting some records right now simultaneously. And as I talked about on Saturday, you'd really have to go back to 1998 to see two companies, you know, both kind of, you know, still in the uprise. You know, WCW I felt was starting to taper off and WWE was taking over, but they were still doing big business. They still had the NWO. Goldberg just got on the map. You know, Rodman and Karl Malone and WCW still had a lot of exposure. And I think, you know, you'd have to go back to around 1998 to find both North American wrestling companies doing great shit together. And that's awesome for a wrestling fan. So we'll look ahead to WrestleMania 40, maybe even fantasy book some of that, and look at All In, which at this point coming up this Sunday, we are all hoping lives up to the hype. This, as I've said time and time again, I personally believe that this will be the biggest show AEW ever does. The fact that they are a 4-year-old company and they have come close to setting the all-time record for any wrestling event makes me think that this can't really be an annual thing for them. So they really need to make sure that they deliver the best show possible. So far, the build, the card, some fans underwhelmed by it. That's a fair criticism. I can understand. I'm a little bit underwhelmed by it, but I'm also having faith in AEW's ability to put forth good pay-per-views because they always come through. And when you look at these matches, yeah, there might not be a lot of Hogans and Andres on there, but some of these matches really have the potential to deliver in a big way. There might even be some sleepers. So I'm hoping that All In will turn out to be a huge show. But right now, you know, it's going to be up to them to make this the best night they've ever had or to completely shit the bed. And we're not going to really know the answer to that until another week from now. So this should be a really interesting week. And you're going to see a lot of me. Links to everything up this week, or everything for this week, are already up on the channel, I should say. This coming Thursday, we're going to do AEW All In predictions. We're also going to review the previous night's Dynamite. The link is up for that. I think we're going to go live at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific for that on Thursday. And then on Saturday, no Winged Eagle that day, we're going to be back for members only, picking back up with our Saturday night's main event series watch through, and we're going to be doing episode 5. So that's also on my channel. The link is up to that in the members only playlist. You can find that there. And then, of course, on Sunday, we're going to be up here to review all of AEW All In. Now, since I'm on the West Coast, this show is airing at 10 in the morning for me. So I'm probably going to do my review an hour or two after the show goes off the air. I'm probably not going to come right up instantly when the show is over. I might have some things to catch up on, figuring out some notes. I'm not a morning person, so I want to make sure I'm up and prepared to give you guys the best review possible. So I have the tentative time for that review on Sunday right now set for 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, but that might change depending on what time the show goes off the air and all of that. So the links are up to everything now. Just click on them, save them, give them a like, and hang on to them for later this week, because you're going to see my bald ass 3 times 4 if you're a member. So that's what's on tap for the week. But tonight we're going to talk about Monday Night Raw. We're going to talk about John Cena returning to WWE to work that India show next month. Some news out of AEW, they might be signing Mariah May, who currently wrestles for Stardom, who is a pretty good free agent talent out there. And of course, we'll talk about AEW All In, look at the card, look at Saturday's Collision, and review tonight's Monday Night Raw, and answer any questions you guys might have in the chat tonight, anything you want to get into. This is an excellent night for this to be, members' choice, subscribers' choice, because I'm really just going to have some light notes here. This is not like a 2-hour podcast like normal. We're just going to talk about Collision, going to talk about Raw, a little bit of news and notes, preview, payback, preview, all in. But if you guys want to get into anything else specifically, or you want me to elaborate on something that I spoke about on Saturday, let me know. We'll talk about it. But let's go over to the chat now and say hello to everyone who is here. I would really appreciate it if you guys could take the time and smash that thumbs up button for me. Really need the likes. They really help out the channel. And if you could do that for me, I would appreciate it. We are on the road to 40,000 subscribers, approaching 39,000. Should break that in just a couple of weeks. And then the next target after that is the big 40K. So let's try to get there as quickly as possible. If you're not a subscriber and you're watching me right now, click that button, man. It's totally free, and it takes only one finger. I've tried it. Trust me. That's all it takes. I would appreciate that. And thanks, everyone, for being here on this Monday night. Let's say hello to the chat, and then we'll start getting into what's on the menu for this evening. Stephen Taylor, 10-month-long member. You should see your name scrolling across the ticker. By the way, any channel member of 6 months or longer, you're getting a little shout out there at the bottom. And I am in the process. I know I've said this in the last 3 streams, but I am in the process of updating some of the membership stuff. So I'm going to kind of tweak that up, update it, polish it like it needs to be. But summer is my busiest time. So September, I'll have much more time to do all this stuff. So I'm trying to work 2 jobs now at the same time. It's nuts, but changes are coming once I can finally get the time to finish all of them. But thanks again, Stephen, as always, for being here. Hope you're doing well as well. Good to see Zach Palgett in the house, and How Wheezy, member for 12 months, 1 year long, man, 1 year anniversary for you, my shoot brother. I'm also going to be changing the names of these tiers, by the way. So you're only going to be a shoot brother for a little while longer, and then you're going to be something different, How Wheezy. But happy anniversary to you. Too bad I can't take you out to dinner because I put out. I do. Me and my girlfriend are going to Disney World this Saturday. Going to be fun for about a week, or going to be gone for about a week, and it's also going to be fun. Did you win a world championship or something? Did you become world champion of like the NBA? Did you win a Super Bowl? Because like I don't know why else you would go. Like I don't think you can go if you don't want. You better bring your ring and show it at the door, otherwise they might not let you in. I'm not sure how that works if you don't if you're not a sports athlete. I don't know if you can go, How Easy, but I'm going to wish you all the best down there in the Magical Kingdom and Mickey and all that stuff. Good to see Divine Ricks is here as well, and JJ Leg. All them year-long members chiming in. Divine's got 5 for us. Thanks, dude. Just want to say I'm personally enjoying both WWE and AEW because at the end of the day, the true winners are the wrestling fans. God bless us all. I put up a tweet kind of similar to that today, Divine, is that when I was reading, because I was reading the WWE news about WrestleMania 40, and over the past, 72 hours, just online, there's some people, like a handful of people, just really, really harping on this attendance and stuff. I'm like, you guys are kind of missing the whole message here. All of this stuff is clouding what the actual story is here, and that is AEW is putting a fuck ton of people in Wembley Stadium, probably the most amount of people that's ever been in that building, and close to the most amount of people that's ever attended a wrestling show ever. Technically, is it the record? We're probably never going to know. These numbers are disputed. WWE inflates everything. We get police department numbers. We get turnstile numbers. We get arena numbers. Nobody really knows the true actual attendance of a lot of these. All we know is AEW is going to be right up there at the top with every major show that's ever happened. Maybe they'll be below the record. Maybe they'll be over it. I don't think we're ever really truly going to know. But for me, I don't care. I'm not concerned with records being broken. The fact that AEW, a company other than Vince, is chucking 80,000 people in a stadium to watch pro wrestling is phenomenal. And there is no bad news about that whatsoever. And now on WWE's side of things, they had a tremendously successful WrestleMania 39 this year, and WrestleMania 40 in Philly is already setting records, and we're not even into 2024 yet. We are probably 6 or 7 months away from WWE announcing match 1 for WrestleMania 40. We have no clue what the hell we're going to see next year in Philadelphia. We have some ideas. We can fantasy book that shit all day, but we're not going to know for sure until February. And they sold, 90,000 tickets in 3 hours or 4 hours or something ridiculous like that, shattering their all-time gate, in the first day. I mean, that's just incredible. So seeing that news, puts a smile on my face. Wrestling is kind of cool again. Tonight, when I was watching Raw, Sami Zayn came out and opened the show. And granted, they're in Quebec, so fans might be a little bit louder for him there. But just when you see how over he is, how the crowd engages with him and they sing his song, and you think about other people in the company like LA Knight, you think about Cody, you think about Roman and the Bloodline and the Usos and everything that they're doing. They have a lot of people that are super crazy over right now. And what makes me feel good about that is that I don't fear for these people the way I would 5 years ago when Vince was in charge. I feel like Triple H now has the ability to push these people that are getting over, that are getting responses from the audience, and he has a chance to do things with them without the fear of Vince McMahon pissing it all away because he's a goddamn idiot. And it's really nice to see that, just the crowd energy. Think about where we were right before the pandemic hit, in 2019, how just empty and emotionless the shows felt. There was a lot of tarping off of the tickets back then on Monday Night Raws and SmackDowns. You'd get those wide shots of the building. We talked about it on this podcast several times. I said it would be cool. WWE should do what AEW does and book smaller venues, because if they're only pulling in 4,000 people or less, or 5,000 people or less for Monday Night Raws or SmackDowns, that crowd would be much better served in a more intimate setting than spread out over a fucking basketball stadium. And a lot of times they would just set up the shows to be like like an auditorium or a theater, all the fans on one side, absolutely nobody on the other side. You remember those days. It wasn't that long ago, about 4 years ago, this was happening in WWE. No crowd response from the fans. Fans cared very little about most of the talent. There's a few people that were over, but for the most part, it just did not have the life that it has now. The fans respond. Think about Dominic. You even got the heels over. You got Gunther is over his shit as a heel. Dominic, just draws the ire of every audience, and it's not even X-Pac heat. It's not JBL, Baron Corbin, or X-Pac heat. It's no, we really hate you as a heel heat. And that's the kind of heat you want. And it's fun. I think the crowd enjoys booing Dominic when he gets on the mic, where if you've been to a show before where Baron Corbin gets on the mic and everybody's booing, they're booing because they don't want to see his dumb bald head. But Dominic, they're booing because it's fun. It's a completely different thing. And when you think about the Dominics, the LA Knights, the Codys, the Sammys, the Owens, the Romans, everything going on with the bloodline, there's a lot of people in WWE who are over or on the cusp of becoming over. Damian Priest is another guy. He's got that briefcase. Who knows what that's going to turn into for him? Nakamura's back on the map tonight, getting a title shot against Seth Rollins. Rollins is still there, tearing it up. WWE is really doing a lot of things right. And I noticed that tonight on Raw and just remembered that we were here doing reviews in 2019, doing Thunderdome reviews. I stopped even doing Raw reviews. We were doing Raw watch-alongs for how many years here on this channel? 2 or 3, maybe 2017, 18, and 19. The show got so bad that I'm like, I'm not going to torture myself anymore. I'm not going to come up here and watch this shit anymore on Mondays with you guys because I just can't take it. I'm just not going to watch the show, catch up on the show later on in the week, and then we'll talk about it on the podcast. Like, I literally could not sit through Monday Night Raw anymore. And Raw still has issues because it's a 3-hour show, and we've seen basically some form of the same main event every week for the past 4 or 5 weeks now, but the show is still interesting. It's fun. It's well-timed. It's well executed. And for the most part, WWE is delivering 3 pretty fun nights, or 3 pretty fun hours, I should say, of wrestling every week for the most part in the last year or so. And that's good news. And it shows on camera. The houses are bigger. The fan enthusiasm is greater. Fans are making more noise. WWE is just up all the way across the board here. When it comes to all of their different metrics, how you measure their success. That's why I can say things like, oh, it's so great to see all of this talent being over without the threat of Vince fucking it up, because I don't think Vince is going to fuck up. You have some people that just rush right to him as the scapegoat for anything that they don't like to see on WWE. And I think that's ridiculous. Vince McMahon's involvement and Vince McMahon's influence, I should say, on the product is about as minimal as it's ever been. And even though he's there, he's still in the mix, albeit he's recovering from surgery right now. I feel like he's enough out of the mix to where not even Vince McMahon can fuck up some of the great things that WWE is doing. In order for him to do that, he would have to reassume the role he had previously, where he's back on TV or back at TV every week at Gorilla, sitting there right in the middle of everything creative. And unless he's doing that, I'm not really too concerned about him fucking up the push of LA Knight or anything like that. I think Triple H has got things under control, and any mistakes made, the blame is going to go on him. It's going to go on Mr. Helmsley, not Vince McMahon. And so I feel like all of the talent here that is over right now and is on the rise, I feel like they have their best chance to succeed right now with Triple H, big business, heading into WrestleMania 40 next year. That's going to be a monster show, and WWE is doing good things at the same time that AEW is putting a record amount of people in Wembley Stadium in 6 days for All In. So the wrestling business, Divine, is pretty awesome. Thank you for the $5. Let me see who else I can say hello to. Let's get the channel members first. We've got Michael Cuomo and the Juliet. We got Mike Chris Barrera. Mike Rouse is here as well. Right on. And Spaz Phoenix dropping in with the $10. Hey, Greg, one thing I'm noticing with All In and WrestleMania 40 is people equating a big show with a good show. I think you can have a big bad show or a small good show. Your thoughts? Exactly. Because one thing I have noticed, Spaz, is people who might be critical of AEW All In. I'm going to give AEW the benefit of the doubt because I've ordered every single pay-per-view that they've ever done, and I've been entertained every single time. Not once have I felt like I wasted my $50. So it would be foolish for me to turn on them now and just assume because the card might not look as spectacular as I was hoping it to be on paper doesn't mean it's not going to be good. And I think having the size there, I'll say this about All In, and I'm gonna predict this about All In. All In will be better than WrestleMania 32 in Dallas with supposedly that record-setting crowd of 100,000 people. What was the main event? Triple H and Roman Reigns? Not the Roman that we have now. It was one of the most predictable, puke-inducing main events I can ever remember. Dean Ambrose and Brock Lesnar disappointed the shit out of me. A lot of guys were injured. The WrestleMania sucked. Sure, it had a couple of good moments. I think Charlotte won the belt that year, and they got rid of the Divas title, and there might be a couple of other moments in there. But for the most part, at least for me, WrestleMania 32 was forgettable. And look at how many people they had there. They were touting that. They kept talking about how many people they're going to put into Jerry's World, 100,000 people, and the show completely sucked. So you can have a big show with an underwhelming card, but then it's up to, the rest of the talent to deliver there. And I think that's the type of pressure that AEW has on them because, you don't want to do what they did at WrestleMania 32. You don't want to have all those people there and just give them one of the most predictable, phoned-in pay-per-views that you possibly can. No, you need to go balls to the wall. That's why I'm hoping they do have big things planned with the MJF and Adam Cole main event and maybe even some CM Punk stuff and Elite stuff and perhaps some surprises. I don't need Goldberg at all, but if he came down to the ring and speared somebody, I guess that would be a thrill. Edge would be a completely different story. I would love to see him there, but right now, Christian has no presence on All In as far as I know, so why would you even bring Edge in or Adam Copeland in Wembley if he couldn't interact in some way with Christian unless this is an impromptu segment of some kind? So I'm hoping that the show delivers in a way that's satisfying to 80,000 people being there. Because like I said, it's not like WWE has WrestleMania every year and you can always bet that the stadium's going to be packed. AEW might not have these 80,000 seat shows aren't going to be, like I said, an annual thing for them. They can try to go to Wembley once a year, but I don't think they're going to be drawing 80,000 every time. I think this will be the peak. So they really do have pressure on them to deliver a good show, because if this thing is at all underwhelming, it's going to suck, because this is a show that they're going to want to look back on and refer back to until the end of time. This is going to be their WrestleMania 3 minus the big, giant mega match with Hogan and Andre. That's why the business is so different. 93,000 people went into the Silverdome because of Hogan and Andre. Now you're buying the brand, 80,000 people are going to be at, or 90,000 at WrestleMania 40, 80,000 at All In. Most of these tickets were sold before any matches were announced. So it's just different now anyway, but they do have some pressure on them. They do they do have some pressure on them to deliver and give an audience that large what they paid to see. I hope they do, man. I'm going to be watching it early in the morning. Spaz has got 10 more. Oh, let me say hello to Nick Musser, though, as well. And I'm going to be backtracking on some of those shout outs there. But thank you for 10 more, Spaz. I really hope Cash Wheeler thing doesn't take him out of All In. I know, I guess they're slated to have a face-to-face with the Bucks on Wednesday, right? But if he can't go, would you find a new partner for Dax, find Dax a singles opponent, or just pick a new team to face the Bucks? I don't think it's going to be an issue. I don't think Cash is going to be prohibited from traveling over there. He did not have to turn in his passport. If he didn't make the show, it sounds like this would have to be an AEW punishment, not anything else. I don't think he has travel restrictions on him. I think if he did, we would have heard about that. And I don't know how AEW would handle that, even if he did. Could you imagine if, it was revealed that he cannot travel over there? So if he was given that ruling and he can't travel for whatever reason, and we just don't know about it, then tomorrow night should be the night where they write that angle and maybe do an injury angle with him or something like that. But I think it's going to be a non-issue. If I'm AEW, you got to get this match done. But if for some reason he couldn't make it, I don't know what I would do. I mean, what do you even do there? It's not like this whole match is based on, a match between the two best teams. It's not just your run-of-the-mill tag team match where you can just insert a different partner. This is one of the tag matches where it would be the most difficult to do that, unless his partner was none other than CM Punk. CM Punk would be the only partner that would make any sense and the fans would want. You don't want to do Savio Vega at No Way Out 98. Remember that shit? I remember thinking, well, with no Shawn, they must replace him with somebody pretty awesome. Nope. Quang. So I think that if Cash couldn't be there, it would have to be Punk. But I think that it's a non-issue. I think he's going to be able to make the show, make the trip, make the match. And that's good because that's one of the matches that this show really is built on, is FTR and the Young Bucks. So he can't miss it, man. He cannot miss it. Let's see who else is here. Isaac, appreciate the 5 from you, another channel member. Hey, Greg, perhaps Rhea should be the moderator for the Punk and Elite issue. No shit. She would set those immature men straight in no time. That's right. All elementary wrestling over there. Teacher, Principal Ripley would straighten them fuckers out right away. I loved her tonight, the way she was getting between Priest and Balor. She's like, look, fuckheads, get your shit together and go out there and take care of business. I would not want to disappoint Rhea Ripley, and I sure as hell wouldn't want to be yelled at by Rhea Ripley. She'd hurt my feelings and make me cry, man. I'm scared shitless of her. Daniel, good to see my friend Daniel up in here. Thanks for the 5, dude. What do you think about Cena versus Gunther for the IC title? It can be like a final test for Gunther before he breaks the record. Well, I don't think that there's time for that. Well, I guess there is. Cena's coming back to work that India show, and as far as I know, that show happens on the day or the day before, the day after he breaks Honky's record, or maybe the day of. What was it? September 8th or something like that is the date of the India show. But I don't want Cena. I mean, Cena never did win the Intercontinental title, but at this point, he didn't win the Universal title either. And the Universal title doesn't even exist anymore. So I don't think it's really important to get that Intercontinental title to John Cena. I'd rather see the Intercontinental title go to Sheamus more than anybody else in terms of somebody who's never won it before. But, that's nice in theory, but I don't know. I'm really all about this Chad Gable and Gunther feud right now. And as we saw tonight, they have completed phase 1 of the entire pitch that I laid out of a trilogy. I said, if this match is booked for Raw, then you do some BS finish, Imperium interfering or something like that. They went with a count out victory for Chad Gable. Then you do the rematch at Payback. You have a match of the year candidate between these two, and Gunther barely survives. And then he breaks Honky's record. Then you do a third match. Gable beats him clean, wins the IC title. I'd rather see that than have John Cena come in. Chad Gable is another guy that I'm seeing right now on TV, and I'm thinking in my head, who's in charge of creative right now? I'm like, this is Gable's best chance. The dude is a stud. This is it. If he goes through this program with Gunther only to fall short and go right back to doing his shushing and Otis and Maxine and all of that, it's like you've pissed away a chance to to give a guy a push the fans like, respect. He's great in the ring. He gets high praise from every single one of his peers. He's the closest thing we are ever going to see to another Kurt Angle. There will be nobody ever like Kurt Angle again, but fucking Gable's damn close, man. So if you ever want to, imagine if we could get a second chance at Bret Hart. Oh my God. So seeing Gable, I just don't see how, and his legitimacy that he brings, he lacks a little in size, but size in 2023 does not matter very much. And I think that they would be fools to not make him the guy, because that would be one way too to legitimize him, as well as if he is able to beat a badass like Gunther, who does, outweigh him and is so much bigger than him. And that would be a credit to Gable too, to be able to beat Gunther, but for that not to really harm Gunther in any way. I believe that Gunther can take a clean loss to Chad Gable and still be Gunther the very next day. I don't think his spot or his strength or how strong he is will be diminished in any way. And it'll be a way to move him on to bigger things, like maybe a Royal Rumble victory or a spot in the WrestleMania 40 main event. I wouldn't rule out any of that stuff for Gunther. Good to see you again, though, Daniel. That's for sure. JJ Legg chiming in with 2. Thanks, dude. Do you think MJF and or Sasha are WWE bound in 2024? I feel like Sasha Banks is going to have a match at WrestleMania 40. I feel like I would love Sasha to show up on Sunday. We really wanted her at Forbidden Door. She wasn't able. She got hurt. Maybe her injury is not healed yet, but if she could appear there, she's another one. Edge, Goldberg, Mercedes. I feel like one of the 3 should have some, and I'm not about taking spots away from current talent just to bring in legends or faces or anything like that. But for a show this big, you do need some surprises, and you do need somebody coming down there that the fans recognize, or a big debut or a big return. Blackpool Combat Club's got some spots open in their Stadium Stampede match too. So it would be fun to see them fill those spots with maybe some surprises. That would be very entertaining, but Sasha, I think, is more likely than MJF for 2024. Who else we got in here? We got to wrap up these shout-outs so we can get back to business here. Spaz has got 5 more. If there were no personal issues, here's a match for you. The Elite, all 4, versus Bullet Club Gold, all 4, and CMFTR and Darby. Throwing Darby in there. That would be a hell of a team, man. So that would be, a 12-person triple threat? Man, that would be tough to take notes for. I hope it doesn't happen just because I don't want to write down notes for that match, but that does. Yeah, you'd have to put aside personal issues, but that would be one hell of a 12-man. That's for sure. Anyway, I also want to say hello to Stone Cold fan James Jakubowski. We have that deal in here as well. Transferring Heat is in the house. Who else is here? Titus, Dr. Pepe is also in the house. We've got Nick Musser. I'm not sure if I shouted you out earlier. Good to see you. My year-long channel member friend. Stephen Harris is in the house. So is David Brown. What's up? El Magnifico. What's up? Good to see you. Ajax Johnson. Ben Espinoza. We have Big J. Big J, I think I got you. Decimania. Good to see you as well. Chad Jones. Jay Lambo. Yeah, they are. We're going to talk about Seth Rollins' back tonight, and if that actually means his title is in jeopardy at Payback. Nick Steele is here. Always good to see you, Nick Steele. And I think that might be about it. Regina Reese is in the house as well. Like I said earlier, please do me a favor, smash Mr. Thumbs Up button. I would appreciate it. Let's talk a little bit about John Cena first. It was announced today by WWE that John Cena would be returning to the company next month in September, appearing on the September 1st episode of Friday Night SmackDown, and then working the Superstar Spectacle show from India on September 8th. Now, this show apparently is not expected to air in the United States. I wasn't sure if this was going to be a crown jewel type of affair. Even in some of my early pitches of the Gable and Gunther stuff from a couple of weeks ago, I think I pitched maybe that third match happening on the Superstar Spectacle in front of a giant audience in India, thinking that it would be available on Peacock, but I don't believe it is. It's probably just for the live audience there. So if that's the case, then that's a moot point. I'm sure they'll film something of it from it, or maybe release it later. I don't know, but maybe that's not the place to do the big match. And like I said, I believe that show happens on the final day, I believe, of Gunther's Honky Tonk Man record. I believe it ends on that day. So shit, maybe he can hold, maybe if he dropped the title there, if you just timed it exactly right, maybe he could time it and lose the title like 1 hour after he breaks the record or something, like really cut it down to the wire. But it sounds like that show's not going to air in the US, and John Cena will be on TV to hype the show in a couple of weeks on SmackDown. Now, we also have Payback coming up the day before All Out, right? So Labor Day weekend is a big one. Payback on Saturday, All Out on Sunday. I should be all right for Payback, but I got to say, since it's Labor Day weekend, there is a slight chance I might have to miss one of my first WWE pay-per-views, and I don't know how long. I'm not sure yet, but there's a small percentage of a chance that I actually might not be here for that Payback show. But I will be here for All Out the next day, and I'll just do a double review that day, I guess. But keep that in mind for Payback. So a lot of stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks for WWE, and it will be good to see John Cena come back. I don't know who he's going to work with. I think it would be great if he did some sort of a tag team match. John Cena coming in, he could, first of all, get some revenge on Austin Theory for WrestleMania, because it seems like Austin Theory's victory over John Cena didn't do anything to help or boost Austin Theory whatsoever. It was a forgettable throwaway match, one of Cena's worst, and it was a show opening match to where Cena just came in, did his job, and left, and it didn't feel like there was any heart, soul, or passion into any of that at all. So maybe John Cena comes back, and maybe you could book some sort of a tag team match. Maybe it could be like John Cena, Rey Mysterio, and LA Knight versus Theory, Grayson Waller, and somebody else. That one, Miz. There you go. Oh, man, think of those three shit-talking assholes. That's what you do. You do Grayson Waller, Austin Theory, and The Miz versus LA Knight, John Cena, and I threw Mysterio in there because of the United States title, but maybe you don't do Mysterio. Maybe it's another legend, not The Rock, but oh my God, could you imagine if The Rock came in as well, and it was The Rock, John Cena, and LA Knight versus, oh, that's what you do. Rock, John Cena, LA Knight versus Waller and Theory and The Miz. Hell yeah. Do it for India. Do it for India. Why not? They deserve it over there. Great fans. So we will see what exactly John Cena does, but since he's going to be coming in to work the Superstar Spectacle show, you would think that he's not really coming in to do anything too substantial. It's going to be another one of those in and out situations for John Cena. Hello guys, look, my bald spot's getting bigger. Peace out, back to my movies. I'll see you in 6 months. So that's probably what this is going to be for John Cena. Let's talk about some AEW news. I was not too familiar with Mariah May. I think I've seen her name come up a couple of times, but apparently she could be heading to AEW. Now, Fightful Select had a report on this today, and I quote, Fightful Select has learned that there has been discussion within AEW about potentially working with Mariah May, the 25-year-old UK-born wrestler that has been working for about 4.5 years and developed a large following. Now, back in 2019, WWE had a UK Performance Center tryout. The company had reached out to her almost immediately after her wrestling career started. We've been told that WWE has kept an eye on her ever since then as well, but that AEW has been the company picking up steam as a potential landing point. We've not been told if May and AEW or WWE have had active conversations or negotiations. She's currently in Japan, where she's been working a heavy schedule with Stardom. There has been speculation over the last week that she may be finishing up in Japan and be signed somewhere after she shut down her big cartel store and posted a tweet saying, quote, I will never forget this time of my life. Thankful, end quote, while remembering some of her matches in Japan. The day prior, she and Mina Shirakawa dropped the Goddess of Stardom tag team titles to the Cosmic Angels. So Mariah May could be heading to AEW. She kind of got a Tiffany Stratton kind of thing going on. And apparently I've only seen a little bit of her footage, but she definitely seems like a pretty polished wrestler, somebody who's good and has that look. She definitely has more of a WWE look. She's got more of that Stratton, Mandy Rose look to her, but she's really good in the ring. And if AEW lands her, they don't really have, do they have like they don't have one of those, do they? They don't have a Charlotte or a Stratton or a Mandy Rose. Well, I guess they kind of do, maybe Bunny and maybe somebody else, but this could be a big get for them. I still think that women's division could use some help. But again, adding more talent might not necessarily be the answer either, because AEW does have a difficult time booking that women's division and finding enough time for the women to have exposure on TV. So hopefully if she comes in, it won't cause any problems. I think, the locker room seems to be a little bit on the immature side in AEW, a lot of the stories we've heard. So having somebody with a big following, somebody who's doing well coming in, might stir up some jealousy issues and all that stuff. And we might be right back to the drama that we've seen before with women coming into the company and not having a good experience there. So hopefully if they bring her in, she'll do well and she'll get over. So best of luck to Mariah May wherever she winds up landing. And I kind of hope she does come into AEW, because I feel like she'd be too cookie cutter in WWE. I feel like AEW could, I don't know, just do more with her or something. I don't know how to explain it, but best of luck to her. Let's talk about Monday Night Raw tonight. Raw was an okay show. I didn't even ask you guys what you thought of the show. Go ahead and throw your grades in the chat there, A, B, C, or D, or give me number grades 1 through 10, whatever you thought of it tonight, and give me your thoughts. But the show opened up, by the way, they were in Quebec City tonight. Quebec City was rocking for Sami Zayn as he opened the show, came out. The entire crowd was singing his song extremely loudly. He spoke French to the crowd, and of course they loved that. Judgment Day then interrupted, and they kind of surround the ring as they're talking shit to Sami Zayn. Now, I loved all of this, even though it was super predictable, because we had seen and heard that on Friday night, Kevin Owens returned to the ring working a dark match on SmackDown. So that meant Kevin Owens is back. That was probably just a little tune-up. Just get in there, work out the kinks, make sure you're good to go, because if you are, we're going to use you on TV on Monday. So the fact that Owens actually worked a dark match on Friday told me that he's definitely coming out with Sami Zayn tonight. So when Sami Zayn came out by himself and then Judgment Day followed, I'm like, well, we're going to get a big Kevin Owens introduction here. And it was cliched. And it's a commonly used trope in wrestling, but I didn't mind it. Sami Zayn gets on the mic and says to the audience, "You didn't think I was coming alone, did you?" Or says to Judgment Day, "You didn't think I came alone." And of course, he introduces Kevin Owens, who got a stone cold Steve Austin pop. Huge ovation from the audience. We had a big brawl, and Owens and Zayn ran off the Judgment Day. So later on in the night, we would be getting a tag team main event. This seems to be the formula every week. It's Cody or Sammy or Owens or Judgment Day. They start the show. The other ones interrupt, and something happens, and then boom, you got your tag team main event. I don't know how many weeks this has happened, but it feels like every week for the past couple of months, it's kind of been the same deal. But all these players here are really good, and Judgment Day has been adding, a little bit to their story as well, with the JD McDonough stuff, and he's kind of getting in there, getting in Finn's head a little bit, causing and stirring up more shit within the faction that already has, some dissension in it. So that's adding a lot to it. Plus, they're doing something with JD McDonough, which is, what the hell was his name? Not Noam Dar. Who was JD McDonough? What was his name? They changed it to that. Why can't I think of what the hell his name is? Oh, this can drive me crazy. You guys will tell me in the chat, and then I'll be mad that I couldn't remember that. But they're using him. That's good. It was also good to see Indy Hartwell out tonight. We'll talk about her in a minute. Even though she wasn't doing much, we saw her, and that's good because Indy is the best. After that, we had a tag team match. Riddle and Drew McIntyre. Mick Riddle taking on the New Day. And this is kind of a babyface match here. Riddle and Drew have had their brief little partnership here. They showed a replay of some of the issues they've had with the Viking Raiders as of late, and now we get this babyface tag team match between Mick Riddle and the New Day. And one thing I'll say about the New Day, I've mentioned this before, we've talked about it before, but is it just me, or does New Day desperately need some sort of a theme music spice up? Even when New Day was at their most over, I've always hated their theme song. Or I shouldn't say I've hated the theme song. The music isn't rounded out enough for me. There's way too many dead spots. And there's times in the song where just nothing's happening. And it's just dead silence. It's very quiet. It's very slow. And you think about, back when The Rock was getting over, how many times did WWE update The Rock's theme? How many times did they spice it up? add some guitar bends in there or something just to kind of round out the sound a little bit to where it's not so dun, 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 dun. You know, they kind of just added some stuff. I'm not a music person. I don't play any instruments at all. But those of you who do play instruments, what does New Day's song need? You tell me. It needs, I'm not even looking for a complete revamp because I would like to keep the core of the song intact because I'm a nostalgic guy and New Day's an act now that's about a decade old. So I would like to, keep it intact for the most part, but just kick it up, add some energy to it. It lacks energy. And that sucks if you have to say that about the New Day, who's nothing but energy, but Big E is not around. They don't have that charisma to feed off of right now. They're not doing anything substantial on TV, really. So, and Kofi Kingston just came back from injury. So not a lot's going on with the New Day. And I just think they need some sort of, maybe a facelift, not necessarily maybe break them up forever because there's still a lot of uncertainty, very sad news about Big E. He's no sooner coming back to the ring, and he probably won't, but still you got to figure out what you're going to do with New Day. You either need to break them up or spice them up, one or the other. And the only member of that faction that's yet to win a championship is the man with the braids. No, not just Alex, my YouTube colleague, but Xavier Woods, who I think is more than capable of being a world champion. I feel like maybe he's a couple years too late on that. But in terms of his ability as a wrestler, his charisma, and all of that, I'd like to see him get on the mat. But it might be too late for him. He might be the lone New Day member to not win a championship. Maybe they can give him every other accolade possible except for that one, unless they have Nakamura take the belt from Seth and then Nakamura starts a feud with Xavier Woods. Maybe you could do it there. Otherwise, I don't really see a path for Xavier Woods in the immediate future to be challenging for a world championship. So if that's not the case, then try just to breathe some life back into the New Day. And I would just love it if they would just kick up, Emerald, bam, kick it up a notch. That theme song, it needs something. It needs something very, very badly. And Kofi, is a veteran at this point, and I would like just to see, the New Day, who's going to go down as one of my favorite tag teams of all time, and I didn't think that was possible in modern times to admire a team that much, in today's day and age when everything's just so different. But the New Day were great. They were one of the best tag teams and factions that has existed in the modern era. And I would like to see the current version of New Day not go through the motions, and actually do something and use them. So Triple H, I trust you. Just do something with them. Anyway, Riddle and Drew and New Day had their match here. Competitive match. Drew was on the apron. I think he's trying to get a hot tag from Riddle, and that's when Eric of the Viking Raiders hops over the barricade, pulls McIntyre off the apron, and that allows Kofi and the New Day, who doesn't see any of this happen, by the way. Kofi is unaware that Drew got taken out. He hits Matt Riddle with the Trouble in Paradise, and the New Day gets the win after the match. The Viking Raiders attacked, but Riddle and Drew and Kofi and Xavier, they were able to fight off the Viking Raiders. And then backstage later, I'll skip to this now because it's a few segments off. But backstage, a couple of matches later, we cut back to Drew and Riddle again, and they're talking about their partnership. And McIntyre is on the verge of breaking up with him. This is a breakup. We need to talk. This fly, who joined me for the watch along last night? This motherfucking fly is still alive in here. Oh my God, he's driving me crazy. He's still here. He lived through the night and he's tormenting me again. But anyway, Drew is trying to let Riddle down easy. He's about to give him it's not you, it's me. He's going to break up with him, and he's trying to tell him, like, I really like you. You're a great person, but I just feel like it's not working out. And before he can really get it out, the New Day show up. Xavier and Kofi show up. Hey, great match tonight, guys. We just want to tell you, don't give up. We really see a lot in you. And they were very encouraging to Drew and Riddle, even giving them their name, McRiddle. I think the Highlanders might be even a good one. But McRiddle seems like is what the winner is going to be. So they encourage the two of them to stay together, and then they walk away. Matt kind of tells Drew, come on, man, what do you say? One more chance. And Drew is like, okay. So you can see what they're doing here. Drew wants out. He can't get out. And eventually, hopefully this will lead, I should say, to a heel turn for McIntyre, because I'm not really interested in WWE attempting to recreate RK Bro. RK Bro was great. It got over on its own. It was one of the only things from that time, when Vince was still there and all of that, right after the pandemic, that was actually getting over on its own, and the fans really seemed to enjoy. But McIntyre is not Orton, and RK Bro is not McRiddle, and I really don't think fucking fly. I don't think they can get over to the degree that RK Bro got over. So I think that hopefully they won't stretch this out too long. It feels like we're just waiting for McIntyre to attack and turn on Riddle and turn heel. That's what I think they should do here. And don't take too long to do it. Don't stretch it too far, because they did that with Randy Orton and then they ended up getting over. But like I said, I just don't think these two can get over to the same degree unless WWE really wants to basically finish that story. They just have to use it with somebody else. And maybe they're going to see how the fans react to the duo, because right now Drew is somewhat reluctant, but Riddle has talked him into sticking around. So maybe they see some success at first and McIntyre starts warming up to the idea, becomes a little bit more friendly with Riddle, really, and starting to enjoy his time. But then they experience some adversity, and I think Riddle and Orton experienced a little bit as well, but they were always able to maintain a friendship through that. Even though we knew the end game was going to be Orton killing him, but Orton got hurt and we were never able to get that payoff. So maybe Triple H feels like they could still accomplish that here with these two. And this will give Riddle, another tag team partnership thing to do to get him back on track from his suspension and all of his problems, and then maybe they can recreate what they had intended to do with RK Bro here with McRiddle. But I don't think they should take as much time with these two as they did with RK Bro. Get to your payoff here, do it on TV or something, give them a tag team title shot in the main event of Raw. McRiddle versus Owens and Zayn, main event of Raw. They lose. McIntyre goes nuts, beats the shit out of Riddle, and closes the show, turning heel, standing over Riddle's beaten up body, something like that. So I feel like they should do that with Drew, because turn him heel. Just turn him heel. He's been heel before. He's done well. Make him heel again. After that, we had a Becky Lynch promo. This was going to be a follow-up to last week where Becky and Trish had their match, but unfortunately, it didn't work out either, because they brawled into the crowd. They brawled into the concession area, and Zoe Stark showed up and attacked Becky Lynch, and Trish and Zoe ran away, and Adam Pearce was pissed off, and he found the two of them, yelled at them both, even told Zoe Stark to shut the fuck up for a second, let him finish his sentence, and he told Trish that when you guys face again, this time there's going to be no interference, no nothing. It's going to be inside of a steel cage, and they have booked this match for Payback. So that is official. I'm going to kill this fly. The Payback match is official between Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus. So now Becky is out there to cut a promo. She runs her mouth and blah, 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 and I'm going to beat Trish and whatever she said. I got to tell you guys, I just haven't given a shit about this angle or the storyline. I have not cared about Becky and Trish. I like Becky a lot. Trish Stratus, I've always said, is my favorite women's wrestler of all time. I was very, very proud of her, how she came in as a fitness model and they threw her in the ring with no training, and she just slowly got good to the point when she retired, she was a seasoned veteran, and then she came back and dazzled us in 2019, had that amazing match with Charlotte at SummerSlam. And when that happened, I'm like, I would love for Trish to come back in from time to time. The girl can still go. But this whole thing that started way before WrestleMania, and Becky and Lita were tag champs or something, and then how the fuck that even happened, I forgot. But Trish got involved in that, and then it became clear that we were going to be getting a Trish and Becky program. They worked, Night of Champions, and it just felt like SummerSlam was going to be where it happened. And I had pitched that being Trish Stratus's retirement. I'm like, maybe she's coming back like Edge, just to do one little quick mini run or whatever, and she'll retire. And you'll do a big career match or something like that at SummerSlam between Becky and Trish. Not only did we not get the career match, we didn't get the match at all. So they booked it for Raw, and that's a way. And then they did the schmaz last week, and now you've got this match booked again for pay-per-view at Payback in the Cage. So Becky's in the ring talking about this. I'm not interested. Trish comes out, And she's in her home country here, but Quebec is not being too kind to her, even chanting, "We don't care" in French during her promo. And like I said, you can be fans of people and still offer fair criticism. I still will always consider Trish my favorite women's wrestler of all time. But this whole feud with Becky has been completely uninteresting. Bret Hart is my favorite wrestler of all time. Everything he did in WCW I felt was uninteresting. It just happens. Doesn't mean it's not an insult to them. It just means what they're doing isn't interesting to me. I haven't gotten behind the emotion in this promo at all. I haven't gotten behind the motivations of the heels or the baby faces in any way. I don't feel this need and this desire for Becky to get her revenge on Trish. I feel none of that. I'm completely indifferent about this entire angle, and that sucks because it has nothing to do with the women's division. There's been plenty of women's storylines, angles, and matches that I've been fully invested in, but this just is not one of them for whatever reason. It just has not, it hasn't hit. It just hasn't connected. The feud just didn't take. I think of the Seinfeld episode where George takes a second shower. Didn't you already shower today? Yeah, it didn't take. It just didn't take. I just can't explain it, but just something about their entire story has been drug on too long and has been extremely underwhelming. So maybe at Payback, this is where the two of them turn it around. Maybe the two of them hear these critiques as well. They read the criticisms online. They hear what people are saying, and maybe they're going to tell each other, let's go out there and prove everybody wrong. Let's go out there and show them what we can do. This fly has a personal vendetta against me because he's just buzzing around my fucking head. If I could just kill him, I'd be so happy. Where are you little shit? Ugh, okay. But maybe, like I said, Trish and Becky can really change the perception here of this angle, because if the two of them do tear the house down in this cage match, that's going to be a tall order, but maybe they can add some elements. Maybe Triple H, this would be a good time for some blood on your women. Just a little bit. You don't have to go crazy. Becky doesn't have to explode her face like she did before Survivor Series in 2018. But maybe it's a cage match. We've already seen Trish and her broken nose and all that. This feud has gotten a little bit on the vicious side. We've seen some brawls. Why not a little color here? Maybe that would change the fans' view of this storyline. And when this whole thing is over, we'll look back at it a little more fondly. Because if this cage match shits the bed too, and then these women are done with each other, we're going to look back at this as one of the worst feuds of the year. So that's why this match actually is kind of important. And I think maybe they should try to book some sort of a WrestleMania 13 type of finish, where somebody's in a submission and they're bleeding and they won't give up, or I don't know, something like that. Just make some sort of gritty, dirty, hard-fought match that makes the fans give the standing O when it's over. Something like that. I think that's what they need to do here to save this. So I'm going to hold out hope that Becky and Trish can actually do this at Payback and dazzle us here. I swear, the next time that fly lands on that light, I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him, y'all. Okay, he's right there. Just land, motherfucker. Just land. It's me versus him. This is your WrestleMania 40 main event, by the way. Greg versus this fucking fly. It's like, I don't even want to kill him. I want to torture him. I just want to torture him, little shit. Anyway, let's move on with the Raw results. After that, it was Chelsea Green and her new tag team championship partner, Piper Niven. Now, Piper decided last week that Chelsea isn't going to do her little auditions or her talent contest or Chelsea's Got Talent or whatever it's called. She's been holding open auditions, reading and watching, reading emails, watching videos that fans are posting, auditioning for this nonsense. And then last week, as Adam Pearce apparently is about to take the titles off of her, she starts freaking out and says, no, I want to hold auditions to find my new partner. That's when Piper just shows up and says, I'm your new partner. And Chelsea's like, well, I'm actually holding auditions. She goes, no, you're not. She grabs one of the titles and puts it on her. She goes, I'm your new partner. And what can Chelsea do about that? So the two of them were in a tag team match tonight defending, were the titles on the line against Katana Chance and Caden Carter. They won. Piper hit that high cross bulldozer thing on Katana for the win. She was very dominant. And I do like this pairing between Chelsea and Piper. I think it works. I like that Piper has got the fear factor there with Chelsea, and that Chelsea is kind of scared of her and knows, you better not cross her. She'll whoop your ass. And Piper is kind of in the driver's seat here. And I like that. I also thought that maybe Nia Jax coming in and could be that Karen type of persona with Chelsea, so I'm wondering if maybe the Chelsea and Piper thing is temporary. The fact that Piper is being so forceful with Chelsea and imposing her will on her and basically forcing her to be her partner. If Chelsea devises some plan to replace Piper with somebody else like a Nia Jax, do you think that could happen? Could they bring Nia Jax in to actually attack Piper Niven and replace Piper? And Chelsea has got the Karen that she wants. And maybe then you got a Piper and Nia Jax feud, Battle of the Behemoths. And hopefully Piper beats her ass. That's what I would hope for. So maybe this is a way to set up that Nia Jax return that we're still hearing about, because when we heard about Nia's potential return, I don't want to see her come back to the company at all because I don't like her. But if she was going to come back to the company, this would be the best place for her, is to be with Chelsea. If not, she's back being a singles again, and she's not like most girls, and we have to hear that stupid fucking song. And I just don't want anything to do with that. So if they're going to bring her back in and all of her nonsense, then Chelsea and this story seems to be the best fit for her. That's where I'd use her anyway. So we will see if they do anything there. But right now, Chelsea Green and Piper Niven are your tag team champions. But I don't know, like I said, how much of a shelf life that has, because Chelsea and Sonya kind of had their gimmick together, and this seems to be, the two tag team champions are not on the same page. And I think part of the gimmick was for them to be on the same page. And we'll see. I mean, not that can't be entertaining, because Chelsea growing frustrated with Piper, also while at the same time being frightened of her, can be entertaining. So we'll see where they go with it. But at least Chelsea Green didn't have to cough up the tag team championships. At least they didn't forfeit these things again. I saw a post on Twitter from, I forgot who it was. Might have been Stephanie Hypes. And it was like 4 pictures of women's tag team champions. She was like, who was your favorite women's tag team champions now that the titles are 5 years old? First of all, I can't believe they're 5 years old. And 2 of the pictures, one of them was Carmella and Zelina. I have no memory of that. I don't even remember that they were tag team champions. Same thing with Asuka and Charlotte. I don't even remember that either. And there was another, oh damn, now I forgot who the other tag team champions were. Whoever the other pairing was, I don't remember them either. Like, I literally don't remember any of the women's tag team champions. I'm like, Carmella and Zelina, when the hell were they together? I'm sure I did a video about it. I'm probably reviewed the match where they won the titles, but I don't remember. It was so unremarkable. It was not memorable, which is why I didn't remember it, because it was stupid. But anyway, I'm just surprised that we've had as many women's tag team champions as we've had over the last 5 years, and how none of them have really been full-blown tag teams. After that, please land. God, he's so close. Land on my light. He was sitting on my light earlier, and I didn't smack him. Please land on it. Please land on it. I've got this big pro light right above me. If he just sits on it, I got this towel. I'm going to whack him. But yeah, since it's so bright over here, he wants to buzz here because this is where my light is. You motherfucker. Anyway, that's live. That's live for you, live podcast. You guys can probably see he's so big because, when flies get to the end of their life, they're so fat and slow. That's why I know I can take him out if he just lands. But I think he's big enough. You guys can probably actually see him. And he landed on my head once too. So I am being tortured on this Monday night, live on the Winged Eagle. Let's talk about, oh yeah, that's right. I really screwed up when I was talking about, I talked about the Becky promo, and I skipped a bunch because I forgot we skipped ahead to Riddle and Drew. And then after I talked about the Becky promo, I talked about Chelsea and Piper, and I forgot to backtrack and talk about things in order. And we haven't talked about the Intercontinental title match yet. You wouldn't believe this. This little fucker, this fly, he's now sitting on the towel that I was going to use to whack him. So now I got nothing to whack him with. Is there anything around me? No. Let's see if I can grab him. Ooh, I was so close. I almost grabbed him in my hand. Son of a bitch. Anyway, when we talked about Riddle and Drew, I fast forwarded and talked about the backstage segment that they had, and that threw me off. And then I started talking about what happened after that. So we need to backtrack a little bit and go all the way back to the Drew Riddle against a New Day match and talk about the match that happened after that. And that was the Intercontinental Championship match they had hyped since last week. Gunther defending against Chad Gable. And they had this match happen at the end of the first hour. So I was never thinking that we were going to see a title change here anyway. But I thought maybe this would be the main event. But once that I saw it wasn't the main event, I kind of smiled. I'm like, okay, this is going to be hopefully whatever they do in this match is going to lead to a payback match between these two. And like I pitched last week, pitched this on Saturday, even released a mic drop on it. I was hoping that we would see like a trilogy between these guys. And I pitched the idea of having the match tonight on Raw with some wonky finish that would lead to a rematch at Payback. And then at Payback is where you do the big one. That's when you do the near falls. That's when you have the match of the year candidate. You have these guys just tear the damn house down. And you have Gunther so close to being beat that half the audience thinks he is beat several times, like a bunch of close near falls and a couple of points in the match where you are 100% convinced that Gable has the match won, only for Gunther to kick out. And just a crazy match. Gunther escapes, maybe some inadvertent cheating. Maybe the turnbuckle pad comes flying off accidentally and Gable gets his head rammed into it and Gunther hits the powerbomb and beats him and survives, and then once he survives that, he has the ceremony. He officially breaks Honky Tonk Man's record, and then you book the third match. Where? I don't know. Whatever the pay-per-view is after that, or maybe a crown jewel, or maybe on Raw. Maybe on Raw in the main event. Who knows? You book the third match in the trilogy somewhere, and that's where you do the title change, and you have Gable win clean. They completed phase one of that pitch tonight. Gable and Gunther for the Intercontinental title. Very good match. Gunther was dominant at first, but Gable fought back, and then Gable was able to take Gunther out on the outside and was able, as the referee's counting, I think he's up to 8. What did he do? He German him into the, he had a couple of really sick Germans on Gunther that completely folded him up in the ring, but I forgot what he hit him with on the outside of the ring. He might have thrown him over the announce table. Whatever that was, it took out Gunther long enough for Gable to slide in the ring before the referee reached 10. He then reached 10 and ended up counting Gunther out. So Gunther lost. First singles match, I think he's technically lost in I don't know how long. Michael Cole threw out the statistic there. It was a long time. And then Gunther, of course, pissed off, makes the ring announcer remind the fans that he is still the Intercontinental Champion. So I really liked that. That was a perfect setup for me because, like I said, I've just been very, very pro Gable lately, and I want to see Triple H, I want to see WWE pull the trigger on a push for him. And this would be probably the best way to do it because he'd be beating somebody that is very well established. Nobody has gotten the best of Gunther, at least on the WWE's roster yet. And for Gable to be the guy to do that with his Olympian background and all of that, Kurt Angle was able to be a badass while only being, just over 200 pounds. Gable's a little bit smaller, but he is capable of being someone who is, a very credible and feared threat. And Gunther losing to him, I don't think would do anything to harm Gunther, and Gable beating Gunther would do a hell of a lot to advance him. So I think it would be foolish just to have Gable come out of this with no championship and no direction unless they do, he breaks up with Otis and Otis turns heel and then he's got a feud with him or something. But I mean, you should push Gable towards championships, like real championships. Throw him on SmackDown, have him contend for the US title. He is just too good. I'm hoping that this whole thing with Gunther makes Gable at the end of it. That's what I really want to see here because I just don't want to see this story or this angle run its course and then Gable be exactly where he is now. Same spot on the roster. Nothing changes for him at all, after a couple of matches with Gunther. Use this to elevate him. That's what you're supposed to do, right? So anyway, good match there between these two. I'm hoping it's the first of 3 that we get between Gable and Gunther. And now Gunther is probably going to have to face Gable one more time at Payback, which means his title will be in jeopardy prior to him beating Honky Tonk Man's record, which I think will happen about 6 days after Payback. So Gunther's got to survive Payback. Since he lost via count out here, that's really adds evidence to what I'm pitching here. He lost via count out here. He's going to win at Payback, but then he'll lose the blow off. That's the way you should do it. That's the way you should do it. And by the way, I've seen some ideas tossed around for Honky Tonk Man to maybe make an appearance in WWE or prevent his record from being broken by hitting Gunther on the head with a guitar or something like that. I am keeping Honky Tonk Man completely away from this situation. They've brought his name up a lot. They are definitely reminding the fans that he's the guy that has this record, and they're talking up Gunther breaking the record. If Honky wants to send in a video or something like that, congratulating Gunther, I ain't got no problem with that. But do not bring Wayne out there in his stupid jumpsuit and his fucking guitar and have him get involved with anything with Gunther. He's one of the worst Intercontinental champions of all time in terms of just his gimmick, his character being on top for that long during an era when we had Tito's and Valentines and Steamboats and Savages and Bretts and Shawns and Perfects. This fucker stuck in there still blows my mind. So I don't really want him being a part of this in any way other than maybe to send in a video. Congratulations. I suppose maybe Gunther could fuck him up on TV or something, but Honky's old, man. One monster who did it, Royal Rumble, right? Royal Rumble 2001. Honky was in it, right? He came in, and who did he run into? He ran into Kane. And Kane, I remember, hit him, I think, with the guitar. And what was brilliant about Kane back in those days, because he didn't talk, he just hit Honky with the guitar, and then he just kind of did like this head shake that was just so perfect. Now that didn't do anything to harm Kane. That interaction with Honky didn't diminish Kane's value in any way. So it can be done, okay? I just don't want Honky there. Gunther is a completely different type of wrestler, type of champion. He's credible. He's believable. He's the guy that I'm hoping has the same type of reputation and win-loss record that a Brock Lesnar has. He is the next big thing, I think, in WWE. And I think if Honky Tonk Man would have showed up in 02 and hit Brock Lesnar over the head with a guitar, maybe Brock wouldn't be as big a star as he is today. Maybe he would. I don't know. But just keep Honky away from this. Mention him, have him send in a video, something like that, but no appearances, no getting in the ring, no guitar shots to Gunther, nothing like that. Just keep Honky out of it. We don't need Honky. After that, we cut backstage to Judgment Day, and they're all not getting along. They're in the chairs there. Rhea Ripley's getting real pissed because Balor and Damian Priest are arguing, and Priest is like, I guess the two of them have got to face Owens and Zayn later. So Priest is like, look, man, I'm Mr. Money in the Bank, and Rhea's got the championship, and Dominic's the North American champion. I just think me and Dominic would be a better team. Basically dissing Finn, saying like, look, me and Dominic should be teammates because we have trophies. Dominic's a champion, and I've got, my prop, my green briefcase, and you ain't got dick, which means you're disqualified from being a good tag team partner for some reason. So they're arguing, and Rhea Ripley finally gets pissed and tells them, look, you guys need to figure it out before me and Dom come back. So she and Dominic head to the ring because she's got a match coming up right after that. Then we get a Cody Rhodes promo. He's backstage with Byron doing some weird thing with his mustache. Not sure what's going on there. He starts to talk to the camera a little bit and then says, no, this setting isn't really working for me. Why don't we come out here and talk to the audience? And he comes out to the aisle, to the entranceway, and basically does the promo for the live crowd, where he basically just puts over Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. They're in Quebec, and you guys come out for them, and you turn out for them. This night is about them, and I want them to, deliver a great match, or whatever he said, basically just talking up his buddies, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, and the crowd loves that. And that was the end of the Cody promo. So I thought that was weird. I thought we probably would see him in the main event, because if that was the only purpose he had on the show, was just to cut a promo about two of his friends, and nobody that, if you've noticed, that he's feuding with, because Cody, to my knowledge, still doesn't have anybody that he's really feuding with at the moment. I guess maybe Balor. I guess Balor. But still, it feels like Cody's just kind of treading water until they figure out whatever is next for him. So we will see. But I had a feeling that we would probably see Cody come out later. After that, we get a pre-tape, very well done, a video vignette of Shinsuke Nakamura actually revealing what he said to Seth Rollins last week. Now, I wasn't here for the Raw review last week because I had dinner plans, and I didn't give you guys my thoughts on this, but Nakamura last week in that promo whispered something to Seth Rollins as he was leaving, and it really spooked him. Like, Rollins was legitimately spooked about whatever Nakamura said. He had a weird look on his face, And everybody was wondering, what did he say to Seth? Okay, he landed on the light. He landed on the light. Motherfucker, you're dead. Okay, please. He did, y'all. I don't know where he is, but he did. There's no way he survived that. Anyway, victory. Your winner and new WWE Fly Heavyweight Champion, good mic work. I'm just making sure. If he shows back up like the Undertaker, he's the Undertaker Fly. I don't know. But anyway, I got him. I got him, y'all. Where was I? Anyway, Nakamura's secret, right? So this was a really, really well done little vignette here where Nakamura, I was for certain that they were going to like stretch this out, that Nakamura was going to have a secret and then Seth didn't want to reveal it and they were going to like stretch it out to some reveal. But I kept thinking, I'm like, well, what would the reveal be? What are we talking about here? Because if it's something, underwhelming, then you don't want to build it up too high just to have it like a letdown, like the higher power was. So I wasn't sure how long they were going to let the secret drag out. I thought it might very well go into Payback, and maybe the secret doesn't come out until at Payback or something like that. But Nakamura revealed right here in this vignette what he whispered to Seth Rollins, and he said, "I know about your back." Seth Rollins has a broken back. It's been broken for 4 years. He has some fractures in his spine that he's been dealing with. This feels kind of like a work shoot type of thing. Like, I think Seth might really actually have these back problems and they're working it into his storyline. I don't think it, unless this is a way to write him off to have surgery or something like that. We really don't know yet. But Nakamura claims that he knows about Seth's back and how much pain he's in, and he lives every day of his life in pain, and talks about when he hugs his wife and when he picks up his daughter, he's in pain and he's going to be in pain forever, and it's debilitating and it's a big weakness of his, and I'm going to exploit it. So that was the big secret. Now later on, Seth Rollins is then interviewed. I'm going to try not to lose my place again, but he's interviewed backstage later, and he admits that the story is true. He said, "I do have a bad back. I have some problems in my spine. And I got to understand that it goes with the gig, and somebody exploiting that weakness also goes with the gig. But where I draw the line is when you bring up my family." So then he kind of warns Nakamura, "You bring up my family and you affect and you threaten my livelihood. You better be prepared for the fight of your life." So in 1 week, they've been able to make Nakamura and Rollins, the issue between them, personal. Nakamura knows some secrets about Seth and tied it into his family. Seth doesn't like that, while admitting that, Nakamura does know that I do have a weakness. And it's funny how long it took, like the way they presented basically Nakamura tonight, if you noticed. I don't think we've seen them present him in that way since he's been in the company. And it feels like that's the way he should have been from day one. He's very sinister. He can be when he wants to be anyway. He can be very fun-loving guy and very hilarious, but he can also be very cunning, very sinister, plus the language barrier there. You don't really quite know what he's saying half the time, and he can really be, he can have you fooled. And I think that showing the side of Nakamura, somebody that certainly doesn't appear to be too shy about taking that extra step and that advantage, and somebody that's going to exploit this very bad injury of Seth Rollins. We'll see. I don't know. I feel like it really got shoved at us. Nakamura kind of like out of nowhere. I thought that, Nakamura is just another place-holding feud for Seth to get Seth and Cody a little bit further in the future or something like that. But, maybe there is an issue with Seth Rollins' back, and this might lead to him taking some time off. Maybe Rollins has got a sore back, needs some issues or rehab or whatever, but also knows that WrestleMania is coming up in a few months, and he probably really wants to be healthy for that. So maybe it's best to take some time now rather than go balls to the wall for the rest of the year and then get injured in January and miss WrestleMania. This is all juicy speculation, as it says right on the top of the screen here. None of this is confirmed, and I have no knowledge of this whatsoever. I'm just throwing out what ifs here. So if that's the case, then hopefully it's not too bad. And hopefully if this is a work shoot, hopefully it's more work than shoot. Yeah, maybe Seth has got a sore back and he's had back issues, and they've just decided to work it into the storyline. Hopefully none of this is really career threatening, but we'll probably read more about this in the upcoming days. What do you guys think? Let's pause here before we get into Ripley and Candace, and then Miz and Tozawa and all of that stuff, and the main event, of course. Let's see what you guys have to say. Oh yeah, exactly. There you go. That deal. I had forgotten about Shorty G until you reminded me, and that's what I'm talking about. That's why I feel so much more confident with Triple H being behind the creative of some of these talents than Vince McMahon, because with Vince McMahon you get Shorty G, and with Triple H you get a badass Olympic hero, and I like Triple H's version much better. Nakamura's like a Japanese anime villain. Yeah, I guess he is. He is. Save it. Yeah, I do need to pin that fly, but I'm gonna have to vacuum later because I got really thick carpet or thick rug, and he's probably in there. See, that's where he landed. So if I see him, I'm pinning him. I'm definitely gonna hit him with an F5 or something like that. That deal. Oh, I forgot about the fly flying on Mike Pence's face. No, mine wasn't that bad, but the little shithead was buzzing around last night during the watch along too. I don't know how he stayed in here all night, but he did. Bailey and Sasha Banks, the Iconics and the Kabuki Warriors, I remember all of them being tag team champions. And some of these other randos that I just forgot about. How many times has Natalya been tag team champion? Jordan Devlin. Thank you, Jade. I was like, why can't I think of what JD McDonough's name is? Jordan Devlin. Thank you. Greg versus the Fly at Payback. That motherfucking Fly, man. I'm so glad he's dead. I hope he's not dead. I hope he's just like suffering. I'm such a sick bastard. I just don't like to be bothered when I'm doing a stream, Yeah, thank you for the Jordan Devlins. Yeah, the Juliet. Yeah, Asuka's I didn't know what to make of Asuka's rant because I just didn't really understand what she was pissed about. I guess somebody made a joke about her and she just went off. I didn't really pay much attention to the Asuka rant because it's just something I don't understand. I don't know what that was all about or anything. Yeah, Mina Shirakawa mentioned on Good Mic Work podcast. That's rare. That's rare. I'm telling you, if I do this full time, then I'll review Stardom shows. It's just I've got a finite amount of time. Okay, thank you for that information, the Juliet. The Kurt Angle documentary is debuting on Peacock on September 2nd, likely following Payback. That will be good. That will be good. Oh, yeah, that's right, Doug Unfunny. Good point. Since the actor strike, Cena and Rock ain't got nothing to do they? I didn't even think about that. Why don't they call them? Why don't they try to get them in? Now's the chance during the strike. If you want to get Rock coming in and do anything, you can come in and like, hey, we'll let you can protest the shit or something. Have a fundraiser we'll tie it all in somehow. Who knows? That would be awesome. JLW Prime, Vince, I don't know where he is right this very minute. He did stop by earlier to say hi. We had a sandwich and a soda pop together. He went on his way. I believe he went back home, though, to Connecticut to continue his convalescing after his spinal surgery. So Vince, I don't think he's really that dialed in. I'm sure he's part of the business aspect and everything in WWE, but I'm more confident now than ever that Vince's creative influence, while it probably isn't ever going to completely go away until he's out of the company or dead, it's probably he's the least involved I think he's ever going to be, like, right at this moment. So we need to appreciate that, and Triple H needs to try to get as much stuff done while Vince might have other distractions, And good point, Juliet. Shawn Michaels retired for 4 years because of his back. I'm sure Seth Rollins has the best doctors, and he's been looked at by everybody. And whatever his issue is, hopefully it's only partially shoot and partially work. But sometimes you do have issues that you can work through technically that still need to be repaired. So if he does need some back surgery, but can still finish up, and drop the title and then have the surgery, maybe that's what he wants to do in order for him to get back by WrestleMania. That would be kind of fun, actually, if he was gone off TV and then he had his return right at WrestleMania. But again, you're that's all just the hope. If you go under the knife and have surgery, you're just hoping you're back in time. It could be a much longer recovery time. We don't know. Or Seth might not be hurt at fucking all, and there's no time off coming. There's no surgery coming. There's no nothing. It's all just part of the storyline. Hopefully that's the case. But if this were to lead, for example, to Shinsuke Nakamura winning the World Heavyweight title, I would have no problem with that. Dude should have been a champion 4 years ago when they brought him in. So I kind of thought that ship has sailed for Nakamura. Even when he re-signed with the company, a year or so ago, whenever that was, I just no longer was really looking at him as someone who was really going to contend for the world title. I thought he was more of just Intercontinental title stature and just mid-card matches on SmackDown or Raw or wherever he happens to be, and that's it. And then when he came back here and they got him on Raw, and what was he doing? Just matches with Bronson Reed, that mid-card shit. And then all of a sudden, boom, now he's in a title match with Seth Rollins, and he's got a secret. Will he win the championship? I'm not sure yet. It doesn't feel like he's gonna, but this is Triple H that we're talking about. And Triple H is probably more likely to belt up Nakamura than maybe a Vince would be. I guess today or in the last couple of days has been the 10-year anniversary of that great 2 out of 3 falls match from NXT with Sami Zayn and Cesaro, and how that match, kind of really did change the business. I remember you guys telling me to watch that back then and check. I was only kind of mildly dialed into what NXT was doing, wasn't paying them a ton of mind, but it was after that match that all of a sudden I said, "Ooh, okay, what's going on over here?" And then from that moment on, I became a huge NXT fan. I cannot believe it's been 10 years nearly since that happened, or almost 10. Is that what they said it was, 10? Yeah, it's been a long damn time. I mean, hell, CM Punk had just left the company. Maybe it was 9 years. I thought all that happened in 2014. Anyway, the anniversary of that match was recently. I think Sami Zayn commented on that today. And it's amazing how far we've come in the last 10 years. Freaking crazy. But Nakamura and Rollins at Payback, we will see if we will get a championship change. I'm feeling like the answer is no, but you never know. We'll wait and see what happens next week. After that, we had Rhea Ripley taking on Candice LeRae. This was going to be fun. Ripley made pretty quick work of Candice, tapping her out to her, sharpshooter thing that she does with her hands, whatever that move is called, and taps out Candice LeRae. After the match, this was so dumb. She beats Candice. She's leaving the ring with Dominic, and then Raquel Rodriguez's music hits. Now, Raquel, of course, was injured by Ripley, and she's been wanting to come back, but she hasn't been cleared or whatnot. And she comes through the aisleway, and she's got a crutch, and it's just like instantly, like she takes one step out of the curtain with the crutch, and like, she's not hurt. Like, come on, Triple H, be a little bit more creative here. This was about as obvious as you could make something. The fact that she's hobbling out there on the crutch, she's going to drop the crutch and reveal she's not hurt at all. It's exactly what she did. Brawl ensues. She beats up Rhea Ripley and then challenges Rhea Ripley to a match, and that's what we're going to get at Payback since we didn't get it at SummerSlam. So it's going to be Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez. Raquel is another one that, I'm hoping that, Triple H can make some changes to, because I was all about her in NXT. I just liked her strength, her badassness, that black leather look that just like a female Kevin Nash or something. Liked it. But on the main roster, I guess I don't mind her smiling per se. It's just way too happy, and somebody like that who's got, such physical presence to them. I like that. And I like just to say, I want a female Gunther. I want there to be a Gunther in the women's division. And that's what I feel like Raquel Rodriguez should be. And I feel like a Ripley should be a Brock, and a Bianca Belair should be another badass. It can be a Lashley, or it can be a Roman Reigns or something. I feel like the women's division needs those characters too. We saw a little bit of that in Ronda Rousey. Shayna Baszler, I think, is on the verge of being that, but again, they've never really followed through with her either. I mean, at one time she was biting Becky Lynch's ear off and eating it and letting the blood run down her chin, and then next week she's doing nothing or whatever. So, I mean, you have to actually follow through with what you want to do here. And I think that Ripley, Bianca, Raquel, and Shayna they should be your Batista, your Lesnar's, your Goldberg, those type of wrestlers. That should be who they are. And Raquel is maybe just doing a little too much smiling for me. She's hot, don't get me wrong, but she's also very physically imposing, and I would like to see more of that from her. It's like how I've always talked about Bianca over the last couple of years. I'm like, you think she's good now? Wait till this girl gets a killer instinct. Then we're in business. And I feel like Rhea Ripley had that at first in NXT, and then everything just fell to shit when she got on the main roster. And only now has she gotten all that back to where, I'm Team Ripley. And Raquel, I feel like is the same thing. I was all about her on NXT, and then she came to the main roster. Something isn't clicking, but that doesn't mean that it can't start clicking, because as much as I loved Rhea Ripley, there wasn't a whole lot clicking with her either once she got to the main roster, but they found their way with her. It took them a while, but they found their way. Raquel, hopefully the same thing can happen with her. She is too big and got too good of a look to waste doing, just the typical run-of-the-mill women's division shit. She's special. Treat her like she's special. That's my one critique there of her. But it's going to be Ripley and Raquel. I'm not ready for Ripley to drop the belt yet either. So I'm hoping that Ripley does beat Raquel Gonzalez, but I also hope that Raquel, is it Rodriguez or Gonzalez? Which one is it now? Rodriguez. I hope she beats Raquel Rodriguez, but I also hope that Raquel bounces back from that and uses it to, advance and develop her character a little bit more, because coming out and doing this and showing your back muscles, you can only go so far with that. And just, she needs more. She needs more. After that, we had The Miz taking on Akira Tozawa. So this was a promo first. I guess Miz is in the ring. He's going to poke some fun at LA Knight. Tozawa comes out. We get a really funny yeah, and really back and forth. Tozawa starts yelling yeah, and Miz is going really, and Tozawa goes yeah, and he goes really, 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 yeah, yeah, yeah. We get that back and forth a little bit, and then we are going to get Miz versus Tozawa one-on-one. So LA Knight is also out there as well. He shows up. Big pop from the crowd, of course, runs his mouth. He hangs around and does commentary for the match. And The Miz is extremely distracted by the presence of LA Knight on the outside of the ring. And as he's jaw-jacking with him, Tozawa is able to take advantage of the distraction and roll up Miz for the surprise victory and get the win and scurry out of the ring. And when Miz is all pissed off and beefing with the referee, LA Knight comes in from behind, hits him with the blunt force trauma, and gets a big ovation from the audience. And like I said earlier, how cool would it be if at the Superstar Spectacle, it was John Cena and LA Knight against Austin Theory and The Miz, or Grayson Waller, or a three-way would even be better. Rock, Cena, LA Knight versus Grayson Waller, Austin Theory, and The Miz. What a six-man main event for India that would be. That would be great. Let's do it. Book it, WWE. We already talked about the Riddle and Drew stuff from earlier on. We talked about the Becky promo as well, and the Chelsea and Piper stuff, because I went out of order when I scrolled ahead. I got a bad short-term memory, y'all. Last night we were watching the watch-along in the women's match. I'm like, this is going to be so short. I started my stopwatch to see how long the women's match was and then forgot, and then looked at my phone later, and there's like 30 minutes and counting on it. And I'm like, oh, whoops, forgot about that. Forgot about the stopwatch. So the only thing we haven't talked about yet on Raw was the main event of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens taking on Damian Priest and Finn Balor. So Owens and Zayn come out first, big ovation. Judgment Day's out next. Rhea Ripley is walking to the ring with her two boys, with Priest and Balor, and she's giving it to the both of them. You dumb fuck, get in there and go take care of business. She's yelling at both of them, and she is in control. So she gets the two of them in the ring, and we start having the match. Now, JD McDonough makes his presence known. He's outside the ring as well. He gets his hands on the Money in the Bank briefcase at one point and attempts to toss it into the ring to his friend Finn Balor, but it's intercepted by Kevin Owens, who just bonks Balor right on the face with the briefcase, and the referee calls for the DQ finish. And as soon as the bell rings, I look at the clock and it's 39 past the hour. I'm like, we got 21 minutes left. And I'm like, they're going to do this. As soon as the referee rang the bell, I'm like, six man. There you go. So referee rings the bell. Judgment Day starts to attack. The only person I lost track of is I didn't see what happened to JD McDonough after this. Did the referee toss him out or what? I don't remember, but he was kind of absent for this. Judgment Day is attacking Owens and Zayn. Cody comes out to make the save, and then Cody gets on the mic and says, there's 3 of us and there's 3 of you. Let's have a 6-man. We go to commercial. We come back, and it's now an impromptu 6-man main event with Cody teaming up with his friends Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens to take on Damian Priest, Finn Balor, and Dom. And in the end, in this match, pretty fun, exciting match, typical stuff that we've seen from all 6 of these guys in a lot of recent weeks on TV. The babyfaces isolate Dominic. He's in the middle of the ring, and Quebec is loving this. Dominic eats a haluva kick and then a stunner, which he sold marvelously from Kevin Owens, and Owens pins him for the win, and the babyfaces reign supreme, and Cody helps out and makes sure that Quebec City got a great moment from their boys, and that was very nice, very tender, and we all loved that. Get away from the cord. So that was your Raw. I thought it was a fun Raw. What's good about Raws now is that when you have these in between months where you got a pay-per-view 4 weeks away and you got a lot of time to kill, and the shows are going to be a lot of filler, when you can still keep those exciting, that's a good thing, because there's been many years when you just did not need to watch the show at all. You can skip the entire 3-hour show and then be caught up in 30 seconds with a quick little highlight package or just reading the notes. Like, so much of it just was meaningless and didn't mean anything. And none of it really felt fun, and that's always been my biggest thing about wrestling is I preach fun. It's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to piss you off ever. And if it does, then stop watching it because it's not fun anymore. And we found ourselves getting angry a lot because of just how lazy everything was. And WWE can still do plenty of lazy things. Hell, AEW is doing a hell of a lot of lazy booking themselves right now. So neither company is doing things exactly right now, but things are a lot better than they used to be. WWE might not be doing things exactly the way we would do them all the time, but shit, when you compare it to just a few years ago, my God, the shows are actually worth watching again. And there was a time when I didn't think we would ever see those days again. And I'm pretty optimistic. But in that regard, thinking back to 2019, and 2020, when we were watching this stuff and just, what are we doing here? And I'm so glad that I feel like we've moved on from that. It's kind of nice. So hopefully Payback will be a pretty decent show coming up here in a couple of weeks. And Raw was decent tonight. Raquel is Greg's muscle mommy. Yeah, she kind of is. I do like Raquel, but I think she needs more. You know what I'm saying? Last Saturday, we had AEW Collision. I thought they've had better collisions, but there were a couple of things on the show that I liked. I liked the fact that Christian had a competitive singles match on cable TV. That's awesome. What a match he had with Darby Allin. Of course, Darby was able to roll him up and pin him after a very competitive match. And after the match, Christian and Luchasaurus attacked Darby, and they made Tony Schiavone count the 3. And they also made Tony Schiavone announce Christian as still being the TNT champion. So this TNT champion shit has got to end. Darby is going to be getting a TNT title shot at All Out on September 3rd, right? A week after All In. And I'm kind of hoping he wins the title there, but I also wonder if they have to do some sort of a payoff or a split with Christian and Luchasaurus first. As much as I am entertained by Christian considering himself the TNT champion and hogging the spotlight, I do feel bad for Luchasaurus. I feel like when this whole thing is over, I'm not going to think of Luchasaurus. I'm almost going to forget that he was a former TNT champion. I do feel a little bit bad for him in that regard, that Christian is not only in storyline hogging the spotlight, but kind of in real life too, because Luchasaurus is not somebody that feels like is benefiting too much from his TNT championship win. Powerhouse Hobbs didn't benefit from his either. Wardlow barely benefited from his. So booking in AEW is not perfect at all, but the Christian stuff is extremely entertaining. We also had a follow-up of the CM Punk and Samoa Joe stuff. Joe making his presence known last week, really wanting to get an answer out of CM Punk and his challenge for All In. And Samoa Joe was set to have a match against the Golden Vampire But you kind of knew right from the start that that was going to be CM Punk under that mask. The Golden Vampire jumps Samoa Joe before the match starts and hits him with a knee, picks him up, hits him with the go to sleep. That did not look good. It was, I even wondered how Punk would even get Samoa Joe up into that move. Hit him with a go to sleep that looked like shit, but Joe did his best to sell it and make it look as good as possible. Props to Joe for making that look decent. I just don't think CM Punk has the strength really to get him up and hit that move properly. And on top of that, I'm not a big fan of the GTS anyway. It's not even been one of my favorite moves. I feel like it's got a very low success rate. About 15% of the time it looks great. About 50% of the time it looks okay. And about 35% of the time it looks like shit. And that should total 100. Check my math there. And this one did not look good at all. He hit Joe with the GTS and immediately pulled off the mask to reveal that it was him. And we're going to be getting Samoa Joe and CM Punk in Wembley Stadium. We will have our predictions this Thursday. Not sure how I'm going to predict in this match yet, since CM Punk did beat Joe in the Owen. Now, when we first found out a couple weeks ago about CM Punk's Hangman Page rant, one of the things I said was, well, if they're leading to some sort of a match here, if this is a teaser for that, it would be awesome if Hangman Page came in and cost CM Punk his match against Samoa Joe. And they're going to have that long rampway. I don't know if it's going to be one of those ramps that connects to the ring, but I just think it would be so funny, to see, the camera faced, if the hard cam is facing the aisle, which I'm not sure how it's going to be yet. I'm not sure if the entrance is going to be off to the right or left of the hard cam, or if it's going to be staring right down the barrel of it. But if they do, it would be a great visual. There's that old match, I think it's a tag team match, or it might have been a one-on-one of in 93, and Hogan did that Japan tour, and he worked with Great Muta. I think they had some tags against each other, maybe a one-on-one. And Muta just runs like a 50-yard sprint as Hogan is on the outside of the ring, but leaning up against the ropes. And he just does like this 50-yard sprint and then clotheslines Hogan over the top rope into the ring. So Hangman Page doing something like that, but running down the ramp and then buckshot lariating CM Punk into oblivion during a ref bump and having Samoa Joe win. Something like that would be really fun, but it doesn't look like any of that's going to happen. It's just going to be Samoa Joe and CM Punk one-on-one. And Punk might also have to, pick up his feud with Ricky Starks again, because Ricky Starks is a manager right now. This is another storyline that I think is just a little weird. Don't love it, because Ricky Starks, after whipping Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, got suspended. And because he's suspended, he can't wrestle for 30 days, but he got a manager's license instead, which I just feel like if you're suspended, you're suspended. Like if you get suspended for a wellness policy violation, you can't come back as a manager. You're suspended. If you're suspended, you are suspended, because it was you that did the violation. So if you're just changing your title, oh, I'm a manager now. I'm like, yeah, well, you still broke the rules and you're still suspended. It's just dumb, It doesn't add up. But they've done this before. Ronnie Garvin did it in the WWE. He lost a loser leaves town match to Greg the Hammer Valentine and came back as a ring announcer, referee, and all this shit. So they've used this before, I suppose, but I just don't love it. And on Collision, he was managing Big Bill. Now, I don't know if that's going to be a permanent thing or not, but apparently Ricky only has 2 more weeks before he can resume his wrestling career. And I guess the manager thing is probably a way to get him on. Oh, that's what they're going to do. He's going to manage Samoa Joe. Isn't he? He's going to manage Samoa Joe at All In. I bet. Right? Do I have that right? Because otherwise, why else would they have this for him? And I feel like having the managerial thing still gets him a spot on All In without having him have a match. And if he's just managing random dudes, like he picked up Big Bill and all of that, he's going to manage Samoa Joe. That's probably what they're going to do. So I guess Ricky will maybe do that at All In, and that does, keep Punk confined to the storylines that he's in, because he's got his fingers in everything right now. Got the shit with Starks, got the shit with Joe, still got BG Gold stuff going on. He's carrying around the championship with an X on it. So he's got the MJF stuff. Crazy. Man, I was up all night last night. I did all my overlays. I got all my stuff done for All In, and I've got the big X on Punk's belt there. I had a flashback from last night, staying up till 4:30 in the morning, working on this week's festivities. But I mean, aside from that happening, I don't know how Joe gets a win here. Aside from, a Ricky Starks involvement, we will see. Again, there's 80,000 people here. This can't just be your run-of-the-mill finish that you would do on any Collision, Dynamite, or Rampage. It has to be a little bit bigger than that. And hopefully it will be. And All In is looking interesting, to say the least. Ryan Y., good to see you, my friend. Appreciate that $10. Hi, Greg. I was sitting in the front row of last week's SmackDown, green Spurs jersey. I held up good mic work on my phone, but the security warned me. Don't know if the camera caught a glimpse of it. No, you held up good mic work on your phone. You mean like held up like a picture of me or something? Don't know if the camera caught a glimpse of it. I'll have to see if you know exactly, Ryan, where you can be found. I'll try to check that out, but I don't have a recording of Friday's SmackDown. All I would have is some of the YouTube stuff. So I'll look for you. Green Spurs jersey. And you were in the front row. Are you facing the hard cam, or is the hard cam to your back? Awesome. That's very cool. Wish I saw that, but I'm going to maybe look for it. That's awesome. I hope that was fun. Front row is always fun, man. Not a fan of Ricky Starks doing a double turn in one calendar year. Yeah, he kind of did. But he is one guy that kind of can succeed both ways because he's got that persona that's very easy to be a heel. But if he starts saying the right things and starts being funny enough and the fans like him, he can be a babyface too. Those characters usually do succeed well on both sides of it. LA Knight, The Miz, guys like that have been heels and babyfaces equally well. Edge is kind of an example of that too, of somebody who can play the role either way, depending on, what the temperature of the water is at the time. So, yeah, I agree. That's right. Oh, yeah, Juliet, I did not mention that. The CM Punk and Samoa Joe match is actually for Punk's Real World Championship. And I'm surprised that in kayfabe, this is something that Tony Khan is allowing to happen, for somebody else to be pretending to be world champion. You feel like Tony Khan would want to step in and make a ruling there. I'm like, okay, Punk, I understand that you're making this argument, but this is AEW property, not yours. You have just defaced it. This belt does not belong to you. Back in the NWA days, you had to put a deposit down. Maybe they do something like that in AEW. Why was Punk allowed to do that? Because there's no way when you become world champion, they give you the belt. It's just the belt. So why was he allowed to spray paint it? Why is he allowed to carry it? Why is he allowed to say that he's real world's champion when he's not? Why does Tony Khan allow this to happen? You got to protect his free speech. He can say he's the real world's champion all he wants, but should he be allowed to carry the belt? There's no law against saying it, but, actions too. You're out there with a fraudulent championship belt. So you shouldn't be able to deface it and spray paint it and hold it up and call out the current champion for not being legitimate. All of this stuff should piss off Tony Khan in kayfabe, but Tony Khan doesn't seem to care. So maybe in kayfabe and in real life, CM Punk has got a free pass to do whatever he wants because he apparently does have enough pull to dictate who can and cannot be at Collision, and who can eat his catering and who can't. I think that's all very, very ridiculous. And like I've complained about recently in regards to AEW, is that they're on the doorstep here of the biggest show in the company's history, and everything we're talking about, most of the things we're talking about anyway, has a lot to do with what's going on behind the scenes, and that's not really good. Everything that happened with Cash Wheeler this week, my God, the timing of that could not have been worse. Just a few days after CM Punk did the shoot on Hangman, just when we're so close to, maybe not so close, but when we're making progress of getting a resolution here, or maybe at some point, if you bide enough time, which I think is what Tony Khan is doing, he's probably just of the hope and of the belief that eventually we'll get to the point where Punk and the Elite can do something together. But every time Punk does something like this, it just sets them all the way back to where they were right from the start, where no progress has been made. So it just seems like a reset button gets hit every time something like this happens. And then, this week we have the other distraction with Cash Wheeler that doesn't sound like it's going to affect his travel for All In. I think if the tag team championship match has to be pulled for any reason, that is a big, big disappointment and a big blow to the company, because that match is one of the ones that's going to have to carry this show. And, losing even one component of that means you might as well just not do the match. There's no point. The only thing that would potentially make it any better or save it would be to insert CM Punk in place of Cash Wheeler. But, that would be cool if but the thing is about the Bucks and FTR, they kind of have this mutual respect. So you can't even have the Bucks attack Cash to write him off TV and then Punk jump in to get revenge or something like that, because it wouldn't really work. So I think Cash is going to be fine. He's going to attend the show. He's going to work the match. All that is fine, but you have to wonder how that's going to affect the match. Is what happened to Cash and the legal trouble he found himself in, is that going to affect him being tag team champions? Now, maybe the Bucks were scheduled to go over in this thing all along, so then it's a non-issue. But if they do win the titles, at least me, I don't know about you guys, I'm going to wonder if it's because of what happened to Cash. It's at least going to cross my mind. I wonder if they dropped the titles because he got in trouble and Tony Khan wants to let the legal proceedings play out before, keeping a championship on him, just in case there is more to the story than we know, just in case he's found guilty of anything. I'm assuming, even though he pled not guilty, that some sort of a agreement is going to be made. This is not going to be a situation that's going to go to trial. There's no way. And just like the Sunny stuff, she might have pleaded not guilty, but I don't think there was ever any intention for her lawyers to go to trial, because they know she has no leg to stand on. And when she's found guilty and she wastes all those resources and the jurors, she's likely to get an even harsher sentence. Hence the no contest. Now she can't be sued civilly, all that stuff. And with Cash Wheeler, I think the least amount of attention on this thing, the better. So whatever he has to do, if he has to do community service or probation or whatever agreement is made, then just do it and put it behind you. And maybe Tony wants to wait for that. Maybe Tony wants to wait, but with no criminal record, even though when you read the incident report from the police officer, it does make my blood boil a little bit that a human being can be that fucking stupid. And I gave him the benefit of the doubt on Saturday in the podcast. I said, he definitely looks like somebody who has remorse. His body language in that arraignment video looked like someone who hated himself and was embarrassed and pissed off that he did this and probably will never do it again. Has probably learned his lesson, but who knows? Maybe he's got a temper that we don't know about. Maybe he runs around, flashes his Glock at everybody that he can, because when you read the report of his Jeep or his truck driving erratically and honking his horn, going all crazy, why was he doing all that? Why was he honking his horn? There is only one side of the story. We haven't heard his yet. Maybe there is a whole nother side of this, but probably not. He was probably just having a bad fucking day, and he was losing his damn mind and melting down behind the wheel and scaring people. And now he's going to have to suffer the consequences. But unless there's some big part of this story that's missing, I feel like he will plead something, a little bit of community service, slap on the wrist, a fine, go about his business, no jail, no nothing like that. He might have some restrictions on him now on what kind of weapons and firearms he can own and things like that. But at the end of the day, those are minor punishments compared to something that like what Sonny is looking at, or what the big blob of orange shit that used to be president is looking at. They are fucked. Cash Wheeler might not be so fucked. And in terms of Sonny, man, let's just hope, fingers crossed, that she gets the full 25 years for all the hell that she brought down on those poor people's family. So, yeah. That very bad PR. Very bad PR. That is one thing. And again, that's why I think that I'm likely to believe that Cash Wheeler is pretty mad at himself, because like we talked about on Saturday too, when you're in a tag team, it's not just your career that this is affecting. Your actions affect your partners. And if you are in a tag team, and a tag team that intends on sticking together for the long haul, you guys have to be on the same page. Hey, I won't fuck you over. You won't fuck me over. Just a little agreement, because you're responsible for somebody else. It's almost like having a kid. It's not just you're responsible for. You've got a partner. You have some. We have seen that in instances before where tag teams, one member of the tag team, something happens and it does affect the career and the push of the other person. And that's not fair. So I feel like Cash most likely has been apologizing his balls off for the past week, probably as soon as it happened. Still, we don't know if he tried to keep this under wraps or not. Hopefully he's not that dumb that he tried to hide this from AEW and then they just found out, Because if they just found out about this on the day of the arraignment, that's really shitty. The fact that all these guys are so cool and tight and close with Tony Khan. Tony Khan gets a lot of beef for the relationships that he's forming with some of these wrestlers. These guys didn't text him, Cash didn't if I would own up to it, I would just do whatever I could to make it right. You can't change it. It was a terrible mistake and it was stupid. All you can do now is do whatever you can do, bend over backwards to make it right and show remorse and hold yourself accountable. And I feel like Cash is the type of guy that's probably doing that. He probably feels like shit that he's put in jeopardy a big match at All In. He probably feels like shit that he put his partner in this situation. He probably feels like shit that he put the company in this position. But he did it, and it's not a good look for him, not a good look for the company, and it's not the type of publicity they need right now on top of all the other drama they have going on and with a big show, their biggest ever in the company's history, coming up in less than a week. That's an awful lot of distractions, when you got a whole roster of people that really need to be on the same page and really deliver the best show they possibly can. And we've heard about talent frustrations, some talent not being used, not being booked, some not even being flown to the show. So again, you're going to have some of those tensions and jealousies and insecurities and frustrations. It sounds like that's a thing in AEW, just like it is anywhere. And I do feel bad that maybe not enough of the talent is getting matches on the card, but that's life. Goes with the gig. Sometimes things aren't fair. I've been watching wrestling for 40 years. God knows how long you guys have been watching. How many times throughout our wrestling watching lives have we seen shit transpire that's just flat out not fair? It's just not fair. It's the business you're in. It's the business you're in. Sometimes it's not fair, and there's really nothing you can do. Reading some of these. Bear with me here. Yeah, Akira Tozawa is still in WWE. Yes. Exactly, Max. The fact that you can breeze through a Raw and be like, that was decent. The fact that it's not torture and the fact that it's not a chore anymore to watch this show is something that provides me with a great deal of relief. I'll tell you. Well, I think I need to get out of here. I thought this was going to be a 1 hour podcast. Turned out to be 2. Not a huge audience tonight, but I always love you guys being here. Thank you so much for being here. By the way, please smash that thumbs up button on the way out if you don't mind. Keep an eye out on the channel tomorrow or Wednesday. Maybe a mic drop or 2 might hit the channel. And then on Thursday, we will be up for Greg Balls of Fire. We'll talk about Wednesday's Dynamite, and we will predict the entire AEW All-In card. That's coming up on Thursday. Link is already on my channel. This coming Saturday for members, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. The link is up in the membership or on the members-only playlist on my channel. Saturday night's main event, episode number 5. This is the show that's going to set up WrestleMania 2. So a lot of things happen on this episode of Saturday night's main event. So me and the members will be doing that on Saturday. And then on Sunday, about an hour or 2 after All In ends, we will be up here doing a live full review of the show. So it's going to be a busy week. It's going to be a fun week. I'm looking forward to it. And I appreciate you guys hanging out with me this evening. Have a great, great, great rest of your Monday. And I will be catching you on Thursday as we prepare for All In.